Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your weekly source for all things Final Fantasy TCG.
Get this this deck list, man. This Fire Earth list is just really like revving my engine, and it's really in my blood right now. Just trying to get this thing figured out, dude. Man, I want it to work so bad.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be okay.
By the way, you are recording, right?
Yeah, we're recording.
Oh, we're live. Oh, well, I guess in that case, let me put my hair up because it's time to get down to business. Guys, welcome back to the next episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. We are back. Sorry I was gone for a week. I've been busy moving, getting things painted, and I'm getting the stink eye right now because I'm not painting. But that's neither here nor there. I'm your host, Chris Adams. With me, as always, is Adam Lane. And, man, it's good to be back. How have you been?
I'm good. Yeah, we're phoning it in today. So if the quality drops off, that's kind of what's there.
Yeah. I blame myself for that. You know, we have been pretty busy. It's so funny. Like, we were just, like, talking about wanting to do more with the channel, like, after Nats, but we just had so much that we're doing, like, right after Nats. So we've just been busy with real life. And, you know, once I get unpacked and get my office set up, I'll actually be able to do a lot more of the recording like I had initially planned, but it's just a matter of getting the walls painted and all that stuff. So, that's that.
Yep.
But we got a lot to talk about because we haven't done this in a couple weeks, but we need to start things off, in a classic way. Adam, I think you know what's coming. You know what we like to start things off with around here.
What's that?
And that's the news. So headlines this week. So we did our second episode of our Breakfast Club yesterday, so we're not going to go crazy with all the spoilers that we've missed. We actually went over those yesterday, and this last crop of spoilers was very. Not a lot of these cards were groundbreaking.
Yeah,
and we've all kind of seen them at this point.
Yep, and there's 5 that they've shown since we did that, so I guess we'll just go over those 5. I don't want to go through all the ones we went. If you want to see those, and the opinions of everybody else on those, you can just watch the other video.
Yep.
So
I think we'll start with the ones they. Go ahead and let's start with the ones that they reviewed over this weekend at Euros, which we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, I'll start with Bramzo first. So he's a 1 CP Lightning forward. He's 2K. If he has 4,000 or more power, he has Haste. If he has 6,000 or more power, he has Brave. If he has 8,000 or more power, he has First Strike. And then for 1 Lightning, you can give him 2,000 power until end of turn. So,
dude, I think this card is excellent because if you really look at it, he's a 1 CP 2K, but for 4, if you look at it for 4, he becomes a 4 CP 8K with all of the keywords.
Yep.
Like, the card is excellent. And being able to Zemus him back for 1 in Mono Lightning, he's a threat. That guy is a constant threat.
Yep. Yeah, the Zemus point is pretty good. He's a CP dump, right?
Big time.
You have to constantly keep putting CP into him to make him really good, but you're giving him keywords, so it's not bad.
He's great. Like when you get to 4 backups, like he's almost like an Alua in a sense, where he's just a threat the turn he comes out because you can play him, pay for 1, and if you see the opportunity to swing with him, like if you think it could close out a game or really swing things in your favor, pay that other 3, get him in there, or you hold because is one of the keywords he gets Brave.
Yeah, he gets all of them. It's
oh man,
Haste, I think, then Brave, then First. Or no, hold on. Let me double check the order. It's Haste, then Brave, then First Strike. Yeah, I was right the first time.
Yeah, so that's crazy. You could just swing with him, pay the other 3 backups, so you're going to do damage and keep him up, and then he's a threat on defense too.
Yep. Yeah, he's pretty cool. There's a lot of things you could do with him. I don't think he's broken or anything or crazy strong, but he's definitely good.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does a lot for Mono Lightning. Great for Tactics title, like they really needed that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely probably going to go in there. And I think Zemus is probably one of the cooler things. It's just a 1 CP target for Zemus. You have
and I think it makes him such a recurring threat. So yeah, he's a good card. Excellent.
Yeah, and then the next card is Laswell. It's a 2 CP.
The first Brave Exodus.
Yeah, it's a 2 CP ice forward, 4K. When he enters the field, choose a dull forward, deal it 5k. If you control 5 or more ice characters, deal it 7.
This is another card I actually like, and the more I think about it, I think it's... Granted, the immediate comparison comes to mind is Sid Reigns, right? Because Sid Reigns kind of does the same thing, but Sid Reigns also has that upside of, if you kill something, they have to discard a card.
Yep.
I think both of those cards can work in tandem. I don't think this card, like Sid Reigns, belongs in like turbo builds, but I think he's a Fire Ice superstar or Ice X kind of guy, or even like the mid-range Ice decks that could benefit from him.
Yeah, I think he's solid. I think in order for him to be really good, you're gonna want to run him in tandem with Sid Reigns, because I think I'd rather have Sid Reigns over this guy. I think the discard is more important in the in the tempo builds. But I mean, you can easily get him to 7k. It's not like it's hard to do.
Exactly, and Sid Reigns does have an extra K of power, which could be relevant.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
So I think they're both good. I think they can both see play. They can both see play in the same shell. Like I'm immediately looking at Laswell for Fire Ice, because I think just you'll be able to get the characters, so you'll be constantly doing the 7, and plus it's just good in conjunction with all of the other burn that it has, like Zell and Celis and VP and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then the next spoiler is Emo Tempest spoiler, which is Waka.
Yeah,
he's a 2 CP water backup. Tap, choose a category 10 forward you control. It gains 1,000 power to end a turn.
Yeah, I like him. He's just like Ondor for category 10, but I think what makes him better than Ondor is category 10 is a lot more relevant. And, this Waka could easily go into like the Wind Water YRP decks, whereas you're probably not playing the Anthem Waka in those decks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a Guardian, so...
Which also helps, for sure.
If that archetype becomes really good, then he'll be pretty good there, because he counts toward that.
Definitely great in title, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like him in like the more forward-focused YRP stuff, but I mean, he could also just make... He's also could just be a cheap backup in Wind Water that makes Pain in 8k.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be pretty good. And maybe you're running another 10 forwards at that point. He buffs Sid, right? He buffs Sid.
What?
He buffs Sid.
He sure does. So now Sin's a 10k. Love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's solid. And it's a 2 CP backup, so it's like, not like it's hard to play.
Absolutely.
All right. So then the last two, the first one is Talika. I think that's how you say it. She's a Crystal Chronicles for 2 CP, 5k. Her field ability is you can discard light and dark element cards from your hand to produce CP. Light cards produce 2 light CP, dark cards produce 2 dark CP.
I actually think that card's pretty neat. In what capacity will it see play? I don't know. Because it does. I like this card because it does kind of declunk your hands when because that's the only problem with light and dark cards, right? They tend to gum up your hand and can make turns awkward.
Yep.
Where if you have this thing on the board, which again it's easy to remove, but it does allow you the option to ungum your hand in those moments where you are kind of just like in this weird spot, like those decks where you've drawn 2 Nidhogg's and you're like, well, shit, I can't do anything with this.
Yeah, I think it gets better with time.
Sure, I agree.
The more stuff they print can make this more relevant. Also, if they print more things like this, you could potentially maybe see like a dark heavy deck that's actually like good and competitive.
Oh, absolutely.
But right now,
I think it's a new card.
Yeah, right now I don't think it's good enough right now, but it's definitely something to keep looking at as they print more stuff, and as if they print something else like this. I don't think one card like this is enough for you to warrant for like a 30-year deck to be dark. But if they print a few more cards, it could be really good.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's a neat. I like the concept and the potential the card has for sure.
Yeah, and then the last one's a legendary. It's Lon. He's a 4 CP AK. If you control a card named Rain, gets plus 1,000 power. When Lon deals damage to your opponent or to a forward, choose a forward. You may pay 3 fire and 1 colorless. If you do, deal damage equal to Lon's power. Deal it damage equal to Lon's power. Yeah.
Man, I really like this card, and it's a little bittersweet though, right? Because I mean, I had heard what this card was going to be, and to see it, it's like, man, that paying that 4 is a little expensive, but I think I don't know. Like I want to like this card, and I really, really will be testing it out to see like what kind of clearly the 3 fire CP and the 1 colorless like really make you have to focus on like have a fire heavy backup line or a fire heavy deck to really maximize that value. But what sucks is that type of ability is really something you see in Earth, and a lot of Earth cards really play to that very, very well. So it's tough. It's a real tough card to build around, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's decent.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's like garbage or anything. I do think it's definitely another one of those cards. It's a CP sync again, kind of like Ramza, but he costs 4. And then every time you have to pay for him, it costs 4. So like it's even more of a CP sync than Ramza is.
Right.
So I think in order for you to play him, for him to be like really scary, you have to be set up kind of.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He is definitely like a finisher type card. But what the crazy thing is, like when we're in this situation where you're looking at fire finishers and the what land does, I'd much rather try to use a Birdman like Vermilion Bird Joyu, because I think I don't know, like
the nice thing about land is like Birdman has to deal damage to a forward and kill it. Land can just hit you in the face. So it's hard to decide whether or not you want to block land or not. Birdman is basically unblockable until the last point of damage.
Yeah. And that's why I think a card like Illusionist will be really neat in these builds with them, because it's like, cool,
true.
Go ahead, I'm gonna make that thing block me, and then I'm gonna kill that thing. Like there's some really neat lines of play, and that's what I'm looking to test. And that's why my thoughts are kind of jumbled. I've literally been sitting here just on FF decks, like proxying cards and making notes and taking, just really trying to do some stuff here. So yeah, I think the card, just in what capacity?
Yeah, I think he's going to require a lot of testing, but I think he's a good card.
Yeah, right now I'm starting as maybe like a 1 or a 2 of, and then going from there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he makes rain relevant again too, the Opus one. So
yeah, because that's a burst that searches him out, which is real good.
It buffs him too, I think, right?
Yeah, you have to pay for it. It's a fire colorless and tapped. I mean, that also could make the there's that other WAF forward, Hwyn or whatever her name is.
Yeah, she gets buffed based on how many WAF characters you control.
Yeah, you start playing those, you could be sitting on a 2 CP 9K, which might not be bad.
Yeah, if WAF's good enough, we'll see.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean that's all the spoilers pretty much.
Yeah, that brings us up to date on the spoilers. But a couple of things that happened this weekend. Most of those spoilers, with the exception of Waka, there was a little event happening overseas. It was this determined the last 6 spots for Worlds. So that was Euros, the Euros 2018, and big shout out to Alex Hancox, Mr. Cool, for taking this whole thing down.
Yep. Yeah, he played really well. He did not play Turbo, which
Yeah. What was he on? He was on Wind, Earth, and Wind Water standard units.
No, I think it was Wind, Earth, and Mono Water for Soya, I believe.
Okay, Mono Water for Soya. Cool.
And then to note, like basically what you just said, it was a 2-deck format, so you had to bring 2 decks with no more than 3 cards between the 2 decks of like a certain card. Yep. So you had to kind of bring variety. I was expecting to see a lot more Turbo than I saw. I don't think I saw any Water Ice at all. Wind Water was everywhere. Like everybody was playing Wind Water.
Mono Water was everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
there was Mono Lightning.
Yeah. I don't know how many made the top cut. I'm sure a few, but I saw it a lot in Swiss as people's like first or second deck. Yeah, it's an interesting format. It makes certain things better because you have to kind of weigh your options because you have to bring 2 decks. Like we were talking about earlier, like Water Ice wasn't there at all, really, that I saw. And I mean, I guess the reason for that is like if you're playing Wind Water, Mono Water, then you can't play Water Ice. And if you play Water Ice, you also limiting yourself from playing other ice cards, so it's kind of hard to juggle. I didn't see a lot of Scions. You said one was in the top cut, I think.
Yeah, there was one in the top cut. I think it finished, I want to say it was in the top 8 lists. Or it was it was in the top like number 9. And it was the only Scion list there, and I can't remember what their other deck was. I think the other deck they were running with Scions was Wind Water, which again, those if you're running those 2 decks, I think those are 2 decks that complement each other. But then I think the other thing when you have a 2-deck format is usually the other one is going to kind of fill in your matchup gaps. Or at least that should be the mentality behind it.
Yep.
So I don't know if Wind Water fills out the gaps that Scion, like it does that help Scion's bad matchups?
I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really played enough of the format, but I think maybe this format also is like their answer to maybe fix like a meta that kind of got a little stale, I think. But
No, for sure.
You have a new set coming out too, so maybe that'll help it too.
And we'll kind of get into our thought on that and why why that's a good segue into the main topic later. Because Opus 6 is coming down the home stretch, but I thought I thought as far as the presentation of Euros, Lucas and Joseph here, Joe they all did a great job.
Yeah, I mean they did a lot of things to help in between rounds, I think, which is something I feel like they should continue to do. Like they were showing deck lists, they were doing player interviews.
I like the way they did that.
Yeah.
Really like the way they have the deck lists out so people could see the cards, look at the counts, and like stuff like that is just especially like we were over at an event which we'll get into here in a little bit. We're watching it on TV and we're just like, oh wow, look at this list. They're running one of that. Oh wow, 3 of this, 2. It's neat just seeing that stuff and having conversation points with people, and also if you're in the chat on Twitch and they're conversing about that, it creates more interaction, which is what I think the streams for this game are lacking right now.
Yep.
So I thought the event was really well, and obviously you can find those videos on demand.
Yeah, they're on Square Enix's official Twitch, which is also a big deal. Like they did it on their official Twitch channel. Like I feel like we should do that. I mean, I guess Square Enix Presents is like the official YouTube channel, but it felt like a lot more people were watching this event than typical stuff.
Yeah, because I noticed a lot of times when I tuned in, there were people tuning in. They're like, "Oh, what's this?" There was a lot of, "Oh, what's this? Oh, that's cool," or "I have no idea what's going on. What is this?" And I know there was somebody in the chat. I don't know if it was a moderator, if it was somebody, or if it was Joe or Lucas saying, "Hey, it's a Final Fantasy card game. There's this awesome starter set coming out in a week. It's a good place to pick up the game." I thought and speaking of that, I know there's been, Square actually did some advertising for the card game. So, I think they're really putting it out there a little bit more, which is nice. It's really, really nice to see.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, the last thing I'll say about Euros, I mean, and I think you kind of already said it. Like with that, we have like the full lineup for Worlds now, all 32 players.
Yeah. So, do we have that list handy?
I have it on hand. I don't know if we want to go through all 32 names. But
yeah. Well, we've also shared it. The Meta Potion did an article and released about it. We shared that on our page, so you can always go to the RVA Returners page and check that out. Big thank you to the guys at Meta Potion for compiling that list and shipping it out like that.
Yep, and then so now they got to start making their 3 decks, and they have to look at the new set because they're going to be playing on the new format. So
I'd imagine they're probably hunkered down when they see new cards come out, assessing those interactions and probably proxying and testing.
Yep.
So yeah, so that wasn't the only event happening this weekend. We had another massive event happening here in Richmond. It was the Cecil Cup. It was a event put together by good old Top 8 Johnny, a regular fixture here. It was actually for his birthday. His birthday was on Friday, and we're recording this on Sunday, and the Cecil Cup being on Saturday. I just covered our entire weekend. But it was fun. We had 3 different events. We had a Pauper tournament, which was a lot of fun. We had a constructed tournament, just a standard constructed tournament, and then we did an Opus 3, Opus 4 draft.
Yep.
Austin Dickhute from Fredericksburg took all 3 events. It was they came down to Johnny's house and ruined his birthday, but Austin took Pauper, Curtis won the constructed, and Curtis won draft as well. So it was a really neat event. Big shout outs to Johnny and Sarah, and I believe they had their roommate. His name was Mark or Mike. He kind of came and went, but shout outs for their just fantastic hospitality and really just allowing everybody to come. And everybody was super chill. We had really nice setups. We did stream this event. Things got a little wild because there was alcohol involved.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Pauper was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had the double setup, and then you played Pauper, and then I played Standard. So,
Yep, and then we both did the draft. Which, as much as I don't like doing limited, I think drafting is fun. Just especially, I like limited in a casual atmosphere. I don't like it in a competitive atmosphere because I'm not good at it. If that makes sense.
mhm.
But like for Magic, one of my favorite things to do, I love doing conspiracy drafts, which is really really cool from those particular sets. And just drafting these cards last night, like older sets, like cards that we all had, and we were just like, oh man, this is a lot of fun. And we were just like, and it was kind of cool. Opus 3 and 4 doing those together, like they actually have some really good synergies between the two sets.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's something fun to maybe look at in the future.
Yeah, I know I had Steiner Beatrix was one that I had.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I got dumpstered though by Marsh. Couldn't deal with Marsh.
Ooh, yeah, Marsh is tough.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad I got to play standard. I got to play like a fun deck, and I did okay.
Yeah, you've actually finished second in that thing, playing your Final Fantasy VII deck.
Yeah, everybody was joking and calling it a title deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah,
That's what we're naming it.
yeah, but it was pretty good. Tifa was like pretty insane most of the day. I think she won me most of my games. Won me more games than Vincent won me, to be honest.
Oh, I hear that. Well, because people are just looking to remove him as soon as he hits the board.
Yeah, nobody really would let me death penalty at all. He just kind of either like if I got him down, I couldn't play anything behind him. He'd get like Fanforded or things like that. And then when I played against Turbo, I could get him down because I wasn't drawing Earth cards to be able to play him. So
Yeah, that too, and you got Gesper locked real hard.
yeah, I mean the first game against Curtis in finals, I had Yuffie Vincent in my opening hand, and I'm like, okay, even if he makes me pitch 3 cards, all I gotta do is draw an Earth card, and then I'm good. And I drew Fire after that, and then I was pretty much locked out. I couldn't really play anything. And then the second game, I ran out of gas, and he was able to get the second Gesper online, and it kind of locked me out because I had no backups.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Same goes for me, man. I finished second in Pauper. RVA returners, man. Second place for life. That's what we do.
Yeah, but the whole day was fun. I think you're posting the results, right? So they'll be up soon.
Yeah, I've got all the deck lists. Steven just gave me his, so I'm going to go ahead and post those up so everybody can look at the list on FF Decks. And I know, we always talk about alternate formats. We love title here in RVA. Pauper has gotten such a positive response around here too. Like people love taking these cards and just experimenting with them. And it's a format where you can take all these bulk cards that are just taking up, like you've got these long boxes full of these bulk commons and rares, like make some decks out of them. Like Pauper is another great way to get people into, because you can make a Pauper deck for like $3 and here you go, give this to a new player, take this and let's learn how to play the game,
Yep. Yeah, it's a good starting place. So
yeah, I agree. I had a ton of fun with it. So it was good. We'll definitely look to, incorporate Pauper into some more events that we're trying to do. Like I think a team trios event where someone's playing Constructed, someone's playing Title, and someone's playing Pauper would be a neat thing to experiment with.
yeah, if we could get enough people, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think what other. As far as other news, around, we've got a couple things coming up. Pre-releases next weekend.
Yep.
Which is going to be a lot of fun. We've got 4 happening here in Richmond. We've got 3 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. I know on Saturday I won't be able to make them because I have a birthday party that I'm going to for a 1-year-old family member. And it'll be nice to get away from Richmond for a little bit, just, hang out with family and stuff like that. I might try my best to, because we got one, it's like what? In 11 a.m., like
1 p.m.,
3
I think.
p.m. Okay.
Oh, you're talking about on Saturday?
Yeah.
On Saturday, it's 12, 4, and 8.
Okay. I might try to my best to get home for the 8 o'clock one, but I can't promise anything. But I know I'm 100% going to the one on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make 2, so.
Yeah. Because I really just want one deck box. Because what's going to happen is these deck boxes are going to be all over the place, and if I want more than one, I know somebody will be like, here, do you want a deck box? Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to trade one for the EU one.
Yeah, I do want the white one, man. The white one looks real dope.
So that way I have one of each.
Yeah, so pre-release is gonna be next weekend. That's gonna be a lot of fun. The week after that is
Soldier Series.
that Soldier Series, Soldier Showdown.
I don't know at
Yeah,
this point.
we're calling it Soldier Series because Soldier Showdown is just too hard to say. It just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nice. But yeah, so we got the Soldier Series number 3, and we've got some sick prizes for that. We've got a custom playmat for first place. It's a win a case event, so we've got a case of Opus 7 in the prize pool. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's nice, and it's the weekend of release of Opus 7, so it's going to be the Wild West. Like, we're going to see a lot of neat strategies, a lot of new stuff, or we may just see people coming in with Turbo or something established to try to win.
I was gonna say you might see some old strategies actually, but
Yeah, but that's fine. Look, there's nothing wrong with taking an existing deck, throwing like 3 cards in it, and going to a tournament because we all know about that life.
Yep.
But then, and then the week after that, we've got that big event happening in Fredericksburg up at your hobby place, the Cauldron Cup.
Yep.
Yeah, that's getting a lot of buzz, man. I know a lot of out of towners want to come for that one. The Florida guys are probably going to come up for that one. I know some of them are. I know the Pennsylvania guys and the Jersey guys are coming down for that. So it's going to be a big event. And I know Curtis definitely sweetened the pot that if we get over 80 participants, he's going to pay for the airfare to the winner for a Crystal Cup of their choice in North America.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you call, just a good old fashioned incentive. So I really think we can hit that 80 mark, and we would love to see people come out for sure. Now, big shout outs to Travis Hart, who kind of put this whole Cauldron thing together, man. He's a huge, just a great personality in this community, and the backbone of the scene up there in Fredericksburg, man. Just does great work up there.
Yeah, and then the week after that is the Supernova Cup, which we should be streaming. Muhammad and Michael are throwing that together, and they're running it with the 2-deck format. So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah, and Muhammad actually showed me the playmat. It came in today. It's a really nice looking Renoa playmat for the winner of that thing. So
yeah, so we should be at all 3 of those events, and they should be streaming too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much playing we're gonna get done, but we'll see.
Yeah, we may alternate. I don't know if one of us wants to commentate, if one of us wants to play in the Soldier event, and then the other wants to play in the the Supernova event. I don't mind. Here's the thing: I don't mind sharing duties. I don't have to play in all of them. I know I typically get a positive response when I'm in the commentator's booth. So we've got options.
Yeah.
So yeah, that about covers the news. So I mean, a lot has happened, a lot's coming up. So it's just a good time in the community. So now that the news is over, let's go ahead and get into our main topic. And we want to talk about, the concept, or just I guess the theory of banning and errating cards in card games. And I know none of that has happened yet in this game, with the exception of the top one version of Jesse for title that would just probably bust it wide open.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's a card that I'm sure the minute people heard what we were talking about, the one card that unanimously came to mind was Gesper.
Yeah.
So Adam, go ahead. I'll let you kind of start things off. I know that's something that has been just kind of people are kind of they're asking for it without really asking for it. Because it unfortunately, with this new set coming, I guess I'll lead in with this, and I'll let you take it away. When we're looking at all these new cards and talking about all these new deck ideas, we immediately, the first thing we say is oh, wow, you can't play that card against Turbo. Or, if they double Gesper you, that card doesn't matter. Or if Gesper's out, that card doesn't matter. You start really shitting on your own ideas because of this one unfair card in this one very, very popular and powerful archetype.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts?
I'll say this too. So, there's nothing wrong with a card keeping things in check. I'll say that, number one.
Sure.
Dottaluma also is a card that, when you're building a deck, you have to think about, because you're just okay, how can my deck deal with him? Sure. And you can do the same thing with Gesper. The problem is, Gesper decks, or Turbo, is what they're most commonly called, can put you in a position where you can't even play the cards that you're put in to counter Gesper. Whereas with Dodaluma, like, yeah, he can get to points where he almost locks you out of a game, but that requires generally setup, and you can put answers in your deck, and if you see them, usually you'll be able to play them. And the problem, and like I just said, the problem with Gesper is you sometimes you can't, and when I say sometimes, that's might be 50% of your games. And
the game is a literal coin flip.
Yeah, and I mean, and good players will play the turbo matchup well, and sometimes you can still lose. I mean, that's just kind of the deck, and I'm not saying that an aggro deck shouldn't exist. I think aggro decks are good things for a meta game to have. I just don't like how this aggro deck exists, because I think it, most importantly, I think it's unfun. Like, I don't know if either player is having fun looking at Gesper from wherever they're sitting. I mean, if you like winning, sure. I mean, that's great. And I mean, I like winning, don't get me wrong. But, like, it's just not fun. It creates game states that are just, like, uninteractive and boring.
And a great example of that was in Game 2 last night in the finals against Curtis. You had you actually had a really solid momentum going. Then the minute he played two Gespers, all it took was one not optimal draw, and then you were out of the game. You were immediately out of the game because two Gespers said, guess what? You cannot play another card this game.
Yeah, I probably went like 10 turns or something like that without being able to play a card. Because I would either draw like a fire card to earth card, or something that was too expensive and something, and I couldn't play it.
Exactly.
And I mean, granted, I could have built my deck better to deal better with turbo. And I think good players are doing that. But it's not like it's still not winning. I mean, it's not winning everything. And I get that argument. Like, a lot of people are saying it's not winning everything. So, like, why ban it? I just think it makes it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's healthy for the game in general. I just don't. Even if it's not winning everything. I still think it's the best deck in the game right now. It's just, I don't think it has a worse matchup than a 50-50. Like, you can tech all day for it, but if it goes first, and
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then they can make it where it doesn't matter unless they just have a bad draw. And they're building their decks now to the point where it's just like they're building their decks to be as consistent as possible to get 2 or 3 cards out of your hand turn 1. So you're losing half your hand before you get to play. And then if they get Gesper, they're going to lock you out of the game.
Well, and then not only that, right? Like, I think one of the other, what am I trying to say here? Like, a deck like Turbo, for a deck that initially was kind of billed as a very one-dimensional, very brainless kind of deck, that deck has constantly evolved, I'd say, since Jordan, Jonathan, and the Canadian guys brought probably the most optimal build at the time to Gen Con, right? And ever since then, we have just watched this deck evolve. So not only did Curtis lock you out with the double Gesper, he's just straight brickwalled you with Renoa. And Renoa is a more recent addition to the deck. So now, Gesper has locked your hand out of the game, and Renoa pretty much says if you try to play the game with the cards you have now you're going to lose.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I said, I want aggro decks to exist.
Absolutely, they need to. That's the rock paper scissors kind of thing of the game.
Yeah, I just don't like that. That's what we're dealing with now, and like I said, I feel like most importantly above everything is it's just not fun at all. Like, and I'm not saying I want everything to turn into just like mid-range tempo matchups, but just like give me an aggro deck that's not that.
Right.
And I think Gesper is the real problem. Like, I don't mind if that deck just beat you by going turn 1 triple discard and then eventually ran out of steam, right? That's fine. But the fact that
deck is supposed to.
Yeah, but the fact that they can get 2 Gespers online in a pretty good amount of games, and they just don't run out of steam because you don't have any steam to try to stop them. Like, you can't really ever play anything that costs more than 3 because most of the time you're only going to get 1 backup down. If you're lucky enough to get 2 or 3 backups down, you probably just win. If you can not die before you do that.
Yep.
But the problem is like you're trying to keep up with their board, and then they have answers to pretty much a lot of different board states. There are forwards that they have trouble dealing with, but Citadel Stain for the most part deals with 90% of them, except for like Vincent and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just rough, and I mean, I guess to go more to the concepts, because I've basically been like complaining about Gesper, and it's more about like the generic concept of banning and errating. People make mistakes, and that includes the people that make the cards, right? And test the cards, and that's fine. I mean, as long as it's not like something that's happening every single time. I just want them to admit that this card is dumb, because I think it's dumb.
Well, and here's the thing, right? And I'm glad you said that, because one of the big things is, you and I have played card games for a long time, and I remember when Gesper came out in Opus 4, nobody batted an eye at it.
Well,
like
so
the card,
yeah, I'll say when I reviewed it, I was like, this card has potential to be really good, but in the current builds of Ice, like, there's no point, because you don't want to like hurt your own hand. But I knew the effect was strong, just no one was using it properly.
And I think it took the additions of other cards, because we initially saw Turbo, I believe, at the end of Opus 4 or the beginning of Opus 5? Because it was at one of the Masters, like I think it was at like a Thailand tournament or something like that, where I know I first saw it, where it was just 9 backups, Squall, Laguna, Gesper, Flan, like. That's when this concept first came out, and then it wasn't really until I don't know when Squall was
Opus 6 blew the gates wide open. Yeah,
right. That's what really made the deck powerful. So now here's I guess where the counter argument. Gesper is clearly the card that makes that deck, the engine that makes that deck run. But with you and I have actually had this conversation. Is Gesper the card they ban, or do they ban Sid Allstate?
I think it's dumb. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Do they ban Squall? You know what I mean? Like, You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's, and that's what makes this argument hard. Because remember, we to hark back to the old Versus days. Remember the Dr. Light fiasco?
Yeah, they banned all the cards except for Dr. Light. Yeah.
Right, they banned Rigged Elections. They banned Devil's Due. They banned Fiddler. They banned.
Well, Ramatut was the first one.
Yeah. And then they banned Ramatut.
And that card was garbage. That card was garbage until Dr. Light came out.
Right, and I think that was the thing. I think most people, and then I'm going to take this back to Gesper. Most people thought that card was garbage because of the way the game was being played at the time. That why would I want to pitch my hand to make you pitch yours?
Yeah.
So like it's such a weird, because like the concept is weird, because we like the entire community knows Gesper is a problem. The entire there's no hiding that. But what is it that has put it over the top? And I think that's where making these banning and errating decisions get hard.
I think the people figured out how to build a deck that negated what's supposed to be a drawback of the card, and he's multi-unit. So when you get 2 of them out, you kind of just win. So, and then I've heard people want to errata him, and I hear that. I think in most other card games, I would support the errata over the ban. But
no. Well, and a perfect example is remember again going back to Dr. Light, because it's the one you and I know the most. Remember they errated him at first and only made it during a certain phase of the game, and you know what that did? That did nothing.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It just took away the stupid combat tricks that he had access to doing it.
Exactly.
But like,
so instead of waiting for the combat phase to kill you, they just killed you in the beginning of the turn.
Yeah. But so here's why in this game I don't want to see the errata. I'd rather see the ban. So when you get Final Fantasy, it comes with an IP, right? And the way they design cards is actually based on the IP. When you had Marvel, right, everything was unique, right? Every character was unique, unless you had Army, right? You had Sentinel or something. Yeah. And so in this game, you have unique characters, and you have those Army type characters, the multi-unit characters, and they're from the IP, and they're multi-unit because they're just a rando in the game. They're a monster. So people calling for the take away the multi-unit thing, I get it, and it's definitely a good thing for the balance of the game. But coming from the IP, I don't think they're going to do that because it doesn't make sense for them, right? Because Square Enix owns the game. So I don't really see that as a way to do it. Same with Thaumaturge. People are like, "Oh, make Thaumaturge unique," right? Same issue with that. The games that it's in, it's a generic class, so it's going to be multi-unit. And then the other one was, make the discard part of the cost.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean that'll fix the card because it'll make it suck. So why make a card unplayable when you could just ban it and then at least like later, I guess, if we want to be stupid and go back and play, like if there's a rotation that happens and then we have a standard and a whatever. If you want to play Gesper in that, then unban him there.
Well, and not only that, right? Like, I'm actually glad you said that. That was the perfect way to put that, because when you ban a card, that doesn't mean it's gone forever. Like I'm gonna use Magic as a perfect example. For the longest time, I don't think Jace, the Mind Sculptor, was ever in Modern until recently. I think he was just kind of like, all right, no, he's too good for this format. We're not going to put him in here. Well, this past year they unbanned him, and he hasn't really had the impact that the community thought he was going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So Jace is a very powerful card, and when I say he didn't have an impact, he didn't have like a direct impact like the card itself. The meta, the entire way the format was played, changed because the card was brought back. Meaning decks became faster. They became more combo-centric because if you wanted to pretty much have your opponent out of the game and done before Jace hit the board.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe if they ban Gesper, 3 or 4 sets from now, there's a card that's like, or a couple cards, or the format changes to a point where you don't care about monsters anymore. You don't care about not having a hand because you can play stuff from other resources. So now they can be like, well, let's revisit bringing Gesper back. Yeah. Maybe Gesper isn't the impact player he is now. So just because you want to ban, and I guess I said all that to say this, I don't think banning a card is bad because they can always bring it back down the.
Yeah. I think it's only bad if it becomes like a slippery slope kind of thing where like everybody starts asking for bans of ridiculous stuff, right?
Yes. Because it wasn't too long ago that people were calling for the Genesis ban.
Yeah, and I didn't think he should be banned. I thought he was just too strong. I think Gesper is above that now. Like, it's just because of the situation. Like, okay, yeah, Genesis playing and then dulling, freezing your guys. It sucks. He's just a really, really strong card. I wouldn't really say that he's like overly broken.
No, he's the best ice card ever printed still.
Yeah.
But
and you need strong cards like that to make some decks fun, right? Like,
absolutely.
Otherwise, like everything's going to be super bland. You know, you want powerful stuff. You want stuff to feel powerful, and you don't want to have to pay 9 mana for everything to feel powerful.
Absolutely. And guess what? After next week, every single person playing this game will have a playset of Genesis. So.
Yeah, the starter deck's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I'm siding with the ban right now, but like, it's not going to make me stop playing the game.
Sure.
I just think that it would be healthy for the competitive scene if that card is gone.
All right, so now let's go ahead and keep going down this slippery slope. So say they go ahead and ban Gesper. Mm-hmm. Say they, when at Opus 7 release, they drop this FAQ or some kind of note saying, oh, by the way, Gesper is now banned in standard constructed format.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happened? I don't mean there's like I don't mean like as far as the people, as far as an outcry or the good, the bad. I'm talking about like what happens to the game.
I think slower decks have a chance again. Like slower decks that aren't Earth-Wind, because I think the only reason Earth-Wind is a slow deck. The only reason that it has a chance against a meta that has Turbo in it right now is because their forwards are just good answers to what they had. Like sometimes their forwards, you could just play them early against Turbo and you win the game.
Right.
And no other real slow decks have that advantage, really. If you're playing like Urion J. Mill or something like that, it's not that it's a bad deck. I think the deck's good. But if you run into Turbo, sometimes you just lose. Like, you have to hope for like maybe a burst to get you an extra card to be able to pay for something. You better hope that you go first. Yeah, I mean, for like really slow decks, I think it's hard to deal with it. And the more optimized that deck gets, the worse it's going to get.
Mm-hmm. And it almost seems like every time I've gone to a major tournament, that Turbo's been there, which is all of them, the deck is incredibly different from the tournament before.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, the list that Chris, and even in the same tournament, they'll be different. Like, look at Chris Lopez and Chris Neal. Both of them on Turbo, both of them playing two very different lists, but the outcome is still the same, and the core parts are still the same.
Yeah.
You're looking at 3 Gespers, you're looking at all the discard stuff. It's the top end that's different. And
I think there are cards. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this right now. There are cards that are going to be in every build, right? I mean, I could say it really quick. 3 Gesper, 100%. 3 Thaumaturge, 100%. 3 Sit-Off Stain. Probably
3 Squall.
3 Squall. Yeah, 100%. Probably 3 Argath. I think I've seen some people run 2, and I think that's probably fine. 3 Kazusa. Then after that, I think it's just where you want to go.
Yeah, like a great example was the Japanese list in the Masters tournament. Some of them were running they were running a copy of the Light Cloud from Opus 4, which I think is neat in context with the DGS guys and all that. Which I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think the deck has become more skillful.
100%.
But that doesn't make me think that it's still not fun. Like it abuses the stack in a way that is skillful. And which is cool, but still Gesper. I still think Gesper is just so unfun. I think that's really my biggest thing. It's not I think he is broken, but I think he's also really really unfun. I think Genesis was broken, but at least there were if they played Genesis on my board and they dull and froze my guy, I didn't feel like I was just out of the game instantly. Sometimes one Gesper is frustrating, and then the second Gesper hits the board, and you feel like you can't win. Unless you already have a board at that point. So,
or you have the ability to play a Ramu to get rid of it.
Yeah, and then monster removal is not cheap, unless you're playing Wind. Mm-hmm. You got to pay at least 3 CP. So if you're already in top deck mode and you don't have any backups, you're not casting any monster removal unless you're playing Wind. So, and even then, you just spent a turn to kill their Gesper. You might just die.
Yeah, it feels bad. It definitely feels bad. So as far as this talk goes, is there anything else in this game that is even remotely close of being considered banned or errata worthy?
I think probably the second strongest card in the game is Dodaluma. Because I think when you're looking at making decks in the current meta, right? It's can you deal with Turbo? And a lot of times dealing with Turbo is can I accept a coin flip with them? Can I get my deck to a point where I can beat them, but understand that I might still lose? And I think that's why it's hard to tech for them. And so a lot of people will just put in some good forwards that allow them to have staying power and try to beat them before they get locked out.
Sure.
Which I think is probably the best thing you can do. Then after that, you're can my deck kill Dodaluma without everything just getting annihilated on my side of the board? And when I say Dodaluma, I really mean Dodaluma Cactuar. Because
right, so and I'm glad you said that, because I think the question is, we talk about a ban being put on Gesper. Do you think Dodaluma should be a card that sees an errata?
I don't know. That's hard for me to say. I do think he is oppressive, and I do think Dodaluma Double Cactuar is probably as oppressive as 1 Gesper, but not as much as 2. Probably more oppressive than 1 Gesper.
I don't know.
It's probably.
I think
it's probably more oppressive than 1 Gesper, but I don't think it's more oppressive than 2 Gesper. And also, it usually takes them longer to get to that point, and they're not just erasing your answers every turn. You get what I'm saying?
Well, no, they're definitely erasing your answers every turn. You just get the chance. You get the chance to play it first.
They're erasing your forward answers, but you have you can play Ramu, right? You could. If they kill your board 1 turn and deal a point, say they play Dodaluma and 2 Cactuars already out, and they kill your board, you can have answers in your hand that aren't forwards that can kill a Cactuar and kill a Dodaluma. You're probably going to end up spending 6 to 7 CP though, which doesn't feel great because they only spent 5.
Exactly, and you're still coming out ahead. Now the question is, if you were to errata Dodaluma to say if he takes damage from opponent's effects.
I mean, he would be more balanced. He would be more balanced. He would see less play because Dodaluma Cactuar would effectively be shut off. It wouldn't even be a combo anymore. You can't use a Stola or Terra or anything like that either. I mean, he would definitely see less play if you did it. He would definitely be more fair if you did it. But I don't think he's more unfair than Gesper. I don't. And then I think there's just, like, because he's not, like I said, he's not erasing your answers. Like, he's not making you discard cards in your hand. And there's no answer to that mechanic. Like, you can kill monsters. You can kill Dodaluma, it just, might feel terrible. And you might lose stuff in the process. You can kill Gesper, but you have to waste your whole turn to kill Gesper. And then you might still just lose the next turn because he might have 3 guys out. And I mean, if you've got to the point where you kill Dodaluma and a Cactuar and they have 3 guys out, then the game has gone way long. There's also cards that are immune to damage, right? Like outside of combat. And they deal with Dodaluma just fine. So, I mean, there's no card in the game that's like, I can't discard now, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no card that's like, okay, this is out, so now I get to keep my cards. You can play a card into Dodaluma and be like, okay, you can't target this, you can't damage it. Like.
But I guess what I'm saying is if you remove one, does the other become the most oppressive and most powerful thing? I guess that's what I mean by, like, when I said earlier, the slippery slope, the state of the game. That's always a risk you have to consider when you do look to remove pretty much an entire archetype from the game.
So there's always going to be a most oppressive, right? Can't not do that. Like, it's always going to be there. It's just how much more oppressive is it than everything else that exists? And are there answers? And there are answers to Gesper. So the issue is, and this is a question that we always talk about, I think, in our group chats and a lot of times, is like, yeah, there are things that kill Gesper. Can you play it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference between Gesper and Dodaluma. It's like, yes, there are answers to Dodaluma. Eventually, I will get to play it. Can Dodaluma lock me out of a game? Yes, it can. Like Dodaluma Cactuar. But is it easier for Dodaluma to lock you out of a game than it is for Gesper to lock you out of a game? And my answer would be no. But I do think Dodaluma is oppressive. I don't disagree with that at all. And I do think that that deck becomes better when Gesper leaves, because it's a slow deck, and slow decks will benefit. But then it opens up for even slower, greedier decks, right? That can fuck with Wind Earth, that you can't even play right now. You can't even think about playing those decks. Because they're just even slower than Wind Earth, and they're not going to beat Turbo at all. If you play that deck, you're just hoping to avoid Turbo the entire tournament. So, and I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can enter a tournament right now and just hope to avoid that deck.
All right, so now I guess the next question here, and probably the last part of this thing, at least in regards to Final Fantasy. Say nothing changes. We're going into Opus 7. We've seen a lot of spoilers, and again, it comes up in a lot of our group chats. Like, we're talking about these cards, and it says, can we play it with Turbo in there? What do you think Opus 7, prediction time, what do you think Opus 7 looks like if Turbo doesn't change? Like, if everything stays the way it is, and all these new, this new sets coming in, new decks are going to be, brewing time is happening, and Turbo is still the same oppressive engine that it was. What do you think happens in the meta?
I mean, I'll say this for myself. I'll still play things for fun. I'll still have fun with other decks. I still want to play more Final Fantasy VII stuff. I want to try Fire. There's a lot of cool new cards in Fire. I don't know how good they are yet. Fire Earth looks cool. It might be a contender. But if Turbo is the best deck, and I still feel the same way about Turbo now, and I do feel like Turbo is actually going to get better.
I do too.
If I'm going to a major tournament and I still feel the same way I feel now, I feel like I might be doing myself a disservice to not play the deck. And I'm not even an aggro player. Like, I don't really enjoy aggro decks. But and I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know the way to say this without sounding like a jackass. Like, it's not really like my duty to do it or anything like that. But I think that in order for them to see that it's a problem, more people need to play it and win with it. And I'm not saying that has to be me, and I'm not saying I'm going to win every event that I take Turbo to, because it's definitely the biggest problem I think with the deck is it's not 100% consistent. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to be bringing it to a lot of places if it doesn't change.
Yeah, I've already said that, moving forward, I feel like if you're a competitive player and you don't have Turbo Ice sleeved up in your arsenal of decks, you're messing up. I think every single competitive player should have it. Not just for the chance to be like, I should probably play this at this event, just so you can always have it just on the ready to test decks you might want to play.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to play it, it has to be a consideration for like.
Oh, 100%. It's always there. Like, cause I know when all you guys were testing for Nats, and I was even I was testing for the LCQ. Turbo was in my top 3 decks to play, and
yeah,
it would have been foolish to not consider it.
And I think I've said this a few times before, and I'll probably end in a minute or two because we're almost coming up on an hour. But like, I don't think the ban should happen because the deck is so oppressive that it wins everything and it's unbeatable.
Right.
I think that they should ban it because when it does happen, it is really oppressive and it makes the game not fun. Like it
makes you have to look at all of your cards through like a different lens.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm fine with other cards keeping other cards in check as long as there's still answers to the cards that are checking the other cards. But like look at Curtis yesterday when he won. Did Curtis look proud of himself after he won yesterday? Right?
Oh no, he didn't.
And I'm not saying like he should feel good. Like it's fine. He brought a deck that's like it exists and it's really dumb, and he won with it. And I'm not mad at him for playing it at all.
Oh, yeah.
I don't blame him for bringing it. Even I don't blame him for bringing it at all. But like he didn't really look like he was having fun either. And he was winning.
Yeah.
But I could confidently say that I had fun the whole day. Even though I was playing like a subpar deck, I wouldn't say that deck's like anywhere close to tier 1 or probably not even tier 2. But I mean, it's not bad,
But then you saw what happens when it runs up against like the tier 1 Turbo Buzzsaw.
Yeah, and I have answers to Turbo in the deck, but I have to see them.
And that goes back to the problem of seeing them.
Yeah, then they also have to live. Like I was in control the first game when I had a wall and then Citadel Stain. Yeah, I couldn't do anything about it. Well, I had cards in my hand, but he was able to make me discard all my cards and play Citadel Stain. So.
Exactly. And now here's the I guess the final question. We'll end on this. So we talk about Gesper being the problem card, but like, and I know we kind of briefly touched on it while we were talking earlier today. What is it? What's going to give Turbo the highest percentage chance of winning? Is it getting that double Gesper, or is it getting that triple discard on turn 1 and then following up with like a Sid All Stain turn 2 when you try to dump your hand to respond to the pressure that it puts on?
Yeah.
Like what is it that gives it the higher winning percentage? Is it one or the other?
So I mean, the longer I think about it, I think it's probably the initial discard, and then you want to see your stuff after that allows you to keep going. So if you can get double Gesper turn 1, I don't think you lose like at all. I don't really see how you lose. If it's like double Gesper Thaumaturge or something like that, I think that has to be the nut draw, right?
I would probably say if you get like double Gesper, maybe like double Gesper Kazuza.
Well, I feel like
at that point,
the Thaumaturge forces him to play a forward. Yeah, the Thaumaturge forces them to have to immediately play a forward. They're just going to keep taking one. And if the follow-up is like another forward or a Genesis, and then you eventually draw into your Citadel Stain. And then the other issue is like they're searching, and you're losing cards while they're gaining cards.
Yep.
Because of the way that they have used the stack. So.
Yeah, dude, I even almost think like double Gesper, DGS Soldier.
Oh, that's probably fine. Yeah,
I think that's a great opener.
Yeah, that's probably fine too. I mean, it's one card difference, but like you get another card in your hand.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, because then if they dump their hand for a forward, you just slam the Genesis, and then you're in great shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, none of this sounds bad. Like.
Yeah, like, and that just shows you what the deck can do, and that's where it has evolved into a very skill-intensive deck.
It is. It's not like as one-dimensional as it was. Well, it's still one-dimensional. It still does one thing, but it's not as like cut and dry as it was before.
Yeah.
And I still think sometimes you just win though. Like sometimes like the plays are just there. You just kind of do it. Especially once you get two Gespers online, You just like, okay, how much of my hand can I play, and then I'm going to make them pitch whatever they drew. You know? And that's it.
Yep. I agree. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of our take on what we think. Yeah, and again, like I think overall, we've said it before, the game is super, super balanced. So there's really, I haven't really had an outcry for any kind of ban or errata, but if they were to like errata or ban some things for the sake of keeping the game on that, keeping it balanced like it is, I wouldn't be upset with any choices. Like if they ban Gesper, fine, that's cool. You know, it makes Turbo Ice unplayable. But Tempo mid-range Ice, guess what, is still super playable.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, like, Turbo could still be a deck without Gesper, but they will run out of gas. Like, that's the difference. And the DGS package would go, right? Like, that's probably gone. Because you take away, like, the long, like, value game, and you go back to, like, the all-in, like, Snow, right? Like, the original deck.
Yep.
And that can still...
Squall Laguna. Yeah,
and that can still beat you before you get to play. Yep. But the thing is, they don't have Gesper to take you into the late game, right? Like, they're either going to beat you or they're going to run out of gas. And they still have Citadel Stain, and they can still go triple discard turn 1 without Gesper.
Yeah. And some builds are still running Sephiroth. They're running Umaro, which, without Gesper, Umaro kind of gets worse, but not with the introduction of a card like Babliz. If Gesper's gone, instead of that, you're searching out Babliz to search out your win condition, which is Shiva.
Yeah, so I don't think the deck is gone, but it definitely ain't tier 1 no more. I will say that.
Yeah.
But I think that it could still be an aggro deck that could beat you before you get the chance to play. It's just not going to lock you out of the game instantly, you know? So it's just, and that feels more like an actual aggro deck to me, where they can still strip you early, and they can still beat you before you get to play your answers. But it's going to come to a point where you can play your answers.
Right, and that's like aggro decks in every other card game. Like you go back to Versus, which is what we know. Like Little Brotherhood. If Little Brotherhood didn't kill you by turn 3 or 4, they probably weren't going to.
Right.
In Magic, if the mono red aggro didn't kill you by turn 4 or 5, or maybe even 6, they're probably not going.
I see people make that argument, and like I don't play Magic, so I couldn't tell you the comparison there. But if that deck does run out of steam, I think that's the big difference for me. Like, this deck, like Turbo, some games, man, like, and I say some games, I mean, like, probably 50% at least of the games that they play, like, they're not going to run out of steam because you're not going to have any gas to stop them. Like,
they take all, they run out of gas, but they don't give you any gas to get going.
Yeah. It's almost like they're siphoning your gas, right?
Yeah. It's insane. It's they got hose in the gas can. In the gas can.
So
it's weird, right?
Yeah,
it's a weird paradigm that this deck has. It's interesting. It's very, very.
Your Paragon is not working, bro. It's change up.
Oh my god. Jesus.
But yeah, I think with that,
are you doing a Greco thing? Are you doing a Greco thing?
Yeah. I think that like that's pretty much it. Like I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. That's just my thought on it. And
and I guess no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm open to have that conversation with anyone, but I don't think it's really going to change my mind much. And I get why people sit on the other side of the fence, and I don't think that they're blatantly wrong.
Because I mean, clearly, if you look at the results from Euros, but also too, like you got to look at that with like a grain of salt too, right? Because a 2-deck format makes deck construction very, very different.
Yep.
And it kind of skews the math, and like if you're looking at like a normal tournament with like best of one deck, which is where Turbo just absolutely shines. So like I said, we'll see. I think that really all we can do is see what happens when Opus 7 drops and we start looking at the competitive season.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of new archetypes coming up. Again, like my mind is just straight laser focused on building this really awesome Earth Fire deck, and I can't wait to try it at like Cauldron Cup. I'm going to try it at if I have the pieces by our Soldier Series event, I may try to just play it in that.
Yep.
So I don't know, but I'm going to be proxying up what I'm going to have in it, which is there's no card I haven't seen yet that I don't think is going to go in it, and I'm going to proxy it up and want to try it this week just to see where I'm at. With it.
Yep.
But that's neither here nor there. But we'll see what happens when with the state of the game and the state of Turbo when Opus 7 comes out. But I mean, really, that's all I got for this week. I'm glad to be back in the saddle. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I don't got anything else. So.
Yeah, so with that, we'll probably go ahead and sign off for this week. We guys, thank you all for listening. Hopefully the audio isn't too terrible because we are phoning this in. We're on our walkie-talkies here, our Progresso cans with the string.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, thanks for listening as always, and, keep the eye out for all these events coming up. Thanks for watching the Cecil Cup this past weekend, and just thank you for being you.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening once again to the RVA Returners podcast. If you like this content and you want to hear more, check us out on YouTube at RVA Returners, and make sure you follow us on SoundCloud and check us out on Google Play and iTunes.